Hello everyone, welcome to SLNS IAS Academy's current affairs classes. This is Pavani Reddy. So let us see all the important articles which are there in the current affairs and let us study for our examination thoroughly. Okay. So the first important topic is the National Industrial Classification, which we are calling it as NIC. National Industrial Classification. So what is this one? So it is primarily a numerical classification. So we are giving a numerical value to a economic activity. That is the National Industrial Classification. So we all know that in India or in the world, we have different kind of economic activities from the primary sector to the secondary, tertiary, quaternary and quinary services. So these are the different kind of, broadly, the different kind of economic activities which are present. So in primary sector, we have agriculture, forestry, fishing, mining, etc. Okay, so like that, every sector is having again subsectors. So in this way, we are classifying it. So basically, what is NIC? For these subsectors, we are giving the numerical value like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this numerical value, why is it important? It is important for the statistical surveys, for conduction of census, and for doing economic research. Okay, so it is essential for business registration, licensing and compliance. For example, if you are establishing a firm and if you go to GST office, you will use this numerical value. So if you are going to start a restaurant, so that is having certain unique number value. So that number value will be used for using in the GST offices, or for example MSMEs, or for example Udyam portal, etc. So for this different kind of purposes, we are using this numerical value. Okay, right. So it helps in policy formulation by the central and state governments. So while doing the schemes for particular economic activity, this numerical values will help us to identify them easily. Right. So what is the history of this NIC? So it is first introduced in 1962. So what is the name of it? Standard Industrial Classification. So the MOSPI. So which ministry is giving us this numerical values, NIC? It is the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation. So MOSPI. So this NIC was earlier called as the Standard Industrial Classification, introduced in 1962. Okay, so it is introduced in 1962 and has been revised multiple times. Why? To align with the UN's International Standard Industrial Classification, ISIC. So in India, we have the NIC. In the world, in the global standards, we have the ISIC. Right. So what is the latest development? Why we are seeing about the NIC? Because we are again revising this NIC values. So a draft of NIC 2025 has been released by MOSPI. So Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation. Right. So as of now, what we are using? So as of now, we are using NIC 2008, which came into force on 1st April 2008. Okay. So from then, we are using the same one. So we need to understand that the society has been changing and the type of industries which are in boom has been changing a lot, right? So that is why we have included the renewable energy, the fintech industries and the digital economy sectors in this new NIC 2025 draft. Okay, so in 2008, we did not see the rapid growth of these industries, right? Renewable energy, fintech, digital economy. So to upgrade these things, we are going to include these in the draft of NIC 2025. Okay, so this is the first important news you have to prepare for our competitive exams, right? The next important one is the So the next important one is the Aspergillus niger. So it is, Aspergillus is a form of fungi. We call it as molds, etc. Right. So it belongs to the genes of Aspergillus, and which comprises the filamentous fungi. So the fungi will have filament-like structures, which we call it as the Canidia. So it will something like this. So something like this. The fungi will be something like this. Right. So this kind of structure is called as Conidida. This one, Conidia. Okay. So this is basically a black pigmented Conidia, or the spores. Right. What is the habitat? So where do we find this fungi? It is generally found in the soil surface. Right. It is also present in the decaying organic matters and on plant surfaces. Right. So what is the significance or importance? So it is responsible for food spoilage. So whenever this fungi enters a food substance, it will decay the food. Okay. Next, it can also cause different kinds of plant diseases. It will affect the maize, onions, grapes, peanuts, etc. So these are different kind of plants in which the fungi will impact them. Right. So related to the human health, so with respect to the human health, we need to study about the mycotoxins. So what is mycotoxin? So they are the chemicals which are released by the fungi as byproducts, which will cause harmful effect to us. So these are called as mycotoxins. So the toxins which are very much harmful for the human body and can cause opportunistic infections. What is the meaning of it, opportunistic infections? So what is the meaning of the opportunistic infections? Whenever a person is having weak immunity, then the infection can be caused. But if the person is healthy and fit, the infection will not happen. So that is the meaning of opportunistic infection. So this fungi will cause opportunistic infections. So whenever a person's immunity is suppressed, maybe because of the any other conditions or diseases like the cancer or diabetes, etc., then we see the opportunistic infections caused by this kind of fungi. Right. Next, what is the significance of the Aspergillus niger in the industries? So we all know the biotechnology field is booming, right? It is growing very, very exponentially. So this fungi is used in the biotechnology field. How? For the production of the citric acid, gluconic acid, and for production of different kind of enzymes like the amylases, proteases, and cellulases. So this is the biotechnology usage of this fungi. So it is important for us to know important facts related to this kind of fungi, right? Next, so next important one is CLAMP. What is CLAMP? The Climate Leaf Analysis Multivariate Program. Okay, so here we need to understand about some definitions. First of all, we'll see what is meant by climate fingerprints. So what is climate fingerprints? So it is a science or approach to study the changes of climate. Okay, so here we study the patterns of the climate change. Why they have caused primarily? So what are the reasons? It can be either natural factors or the anthropogenic factors. Right? So what are the reasons which led to the climate change? So we all know Earth is 4.6 billion years old. So what was the climate at the time of 4.6 billion years? and how it changed when the age is moving on. So how was the climate when it is 3 billion years old, and how it changed to 1 billion years, and how is the present temperature or the climatic conditions of the earth. So there has been lot of change in the climatic conditions of the earth. Okay, so what is the average global temperature? So it is around 13 degrees to 14 degrees Celsius. So earlier it was not like this. The temperature was not in this way. So what are the changes? So that changes, the studies or the approach is called as climatic fingerprints. So this is an approach where we study about the climatic patterns, how it changed, what factors led to the change. Right. And also we need to study about the fossiled leaves. Okay. What is meant by fossiled leaves? So the leaves or the imprints of the leaves which are present in the sedimentary rocks. Okay. So the imprints which are present in the sedimentary rocks will be, so let's say this is a sedimentary rocks. So there will be imprints of the plants. Okay. So by carbon dating method, they will know the age of this rock. And then they will study how the climate was there, what were the climatic conditions which led to this type of vegetation and all. So that is called as fossiled leaves. So the leaves are present in the form of fossils. Okay, so now you know the definitions of these two important terms, right? So basically through CLAMP, it is a scientific method, so that uses fossil leaves as the climatic fingerprints. So we will use that fossiled leaves to study the climatic change. Okay, climatic change of the particular age. Let's say around 2 billion years, how was the climate? So we are, with the help of the leaves, imprints of the leaves, we are going to study that. Right. So applications of this CLAMP. So it will be helpful for studying the past temperature, rainfall and humidity. What is humidity? So the presence of the water vapor in the atmosphere. So in the summer season, the water vapor is very less, whereas in the rainy season, the water vapor in the atmosphere, in the air is very high. Right. So we all know these are three important factors or the constituents of the climate or weather. Right. Next, so they are useful in the paleoclimatic studies where the ice cores and sediment records are absent. So how were the climates through the evolution process of the earth will be studied with this CLAMP approach. So what is the significance? So it helps us in understanding the long-term climatic evolution, vegetation, climate relationship. So we all know based on the climatic conditions only certain type of vegetation is formed. For example, for thorny plants, we need high temperature and less rainfall. Right? So, a particular type of vegetation requires certain climatic conditions for its growth. So, this pattern can be studied with the fossiled fuels or the CLAMP approach. Right? So, what is the recent findings in India? So, the fossil leaves from Nagaland, which state? Nagaland state in the northeastern India were studied using the CLAMP method, right? So, it revealed that Antarctica's climate shift influenced the evolution of Indian monsoon system. So, we all know that the Indian monsoon system, the winds, the southwest monsoon and northeast monsoons are playing a very great role in the climatic conditions of India, right? The rainfall of India is majorly through these monsoons. So, how these are evolved because of the Antarctica's climatic shift. So, that is why it is very, very important with respect to our geography. Right. So the next one which is in the news is about the earthquake. So before going into the news, let us study what is meant by earthquake. So earthquakes, we are very much familiar with this word earthquakes, right? So what is it? It is a sudden shake. So it is a sudden shake on the earth's surface. So the living beings, even the buildings will be moved by this sudden change, sudden shake. So why is this happening? Because of the sudden release of energy in the interior of the earth. Okay, so what may be the factors why there is sudden release? It can be due to the plate tectonics, it can be due to the mining activities, it can be due to the construction of large dams or infrastructure projects, okay, or it can be due to the volcanic activities, etc. So because of some reasons in the interior of the earth, there is sudden adjustment of the morphology within it. Okay, then when they are adjusting, there will be sudden release of energy. So this energy will reach the earth's surface. So it will move in all directions in the form of waves, which we call it as seismic waves. Okay. But the point nearest to it will have the maximum impact. Okay. So these are called as seismic waves. So the study of earthquakes is also called as seismology. The scientists are called as seismologists. Right. So this is the earthquake. What is the reasons and all is this. So when we are talking about earthquakes, we need to study about the impact in two different ways. Number one, we study the magnitude. Number two, we study the intensity. So what is the magnitude of the earthquake? So magnitude is nothing but the calculation of energy released. Energy released. So we all know in the interior of the earth, let's say this point, in this point the energy is released. So this energy will move in all the directions, right? So based on the movement of the seismic waves, the energy released at this point is calculated and it is called as a magnitude. So how is it measured? Through the Richter scale. Richter scale. He's a seismologist. Richter is a seismologist. So through that scale, on the scale of 0 to 10, it is calculated. So on the Richter scale, if the magnitude is 9, it means heavy energy is released and it is going to cause a lot of damage on the earth's surface. If on the Richter scale, if the earthquake value is 1, then it is a low intensity, low energy is released and the disturbance on the earth's surface is also very less. Coming to the intensity. So intensity is calculated based on the destruction or damage caused by the earthquake on the earth's surface. So how many buildings have been collapsed? So how much damage has been caused to the infrastructure projects like the roads, the railway bridges, etc. Everything will come under the intensity. So it is calculated or measured in the Mercalli scale. On the scale of 0 to 12. If on the Mercalli scale, if the intensity is, let's say, 10, 11, 12, it means major damage has been occurred. If the intensity is 1, 2, 3, then the damage on the earth's surface is being very less. Okay. So also one more thing you need to remember about the earthquakes is the earthquakes are majorly found in 3 different belts. So number one, we have the Circum-Pacific belt. Circum-Pacific belt, which we popularly call it as Ring of Fire. Ring of Fire. So it is a basically all the borders of the Pacific plate is under this area, right? So number 2, it's the Alps Himalayan belt. So it starts from the Alps in the Europe to the Himalayas in the Asia. Number 3, the North African and other regions. So it is important to note that in the Circum-Pacific belt, almost 67% of the earthquakes are being seen. Okay. So for example, Japan, which is present in this belt, will experience 1500 earthquakes in a year. So on an average, every day they will undergo 4 to 5 earthquakes, at least minimum 4 earthquakes every day the people of Japan will experience, right? So, and the Alps Himalayan belt, so almost 31% of the earthquakes are from this belt and the remaining 1% is from this region. So, this is the distribution of earthquakes, right? Now, we'll see the current affairs. So, a 6.1 magnitude means energy released, right? So, they are talking about energy released. So, 6.1 magnitude has been struck in the Indonesia. So, Indonesia is present in the Pacific Ocean. So, in the Papua region of the Indonesia. So, Papua region is found in the easternmost part of the Indonesia. So, this is Indonesia and this is the Papua region, right? So, sharing borders with the Papua New Guinea. So, this is Indonesia and here we have the Papua New Guinea. Okay, so this will be the Papua region, right? So, it is a part of the Ring of Fire. So, we already talked about the Ring of Fire region where the majority of the earthquakes will happen because it is a most seismically active zone, right? So, why? What is the reason for this? Because of the tectonic activity. So, the interaction between Pacific plate and the Indo-Australian plate. So, there is a interaction between the Pacific plate and the Indo-Australian plate that resulted in this earthquake. So, they have been colliding and it resulted in this form of earthquake. So, the next important one is the magnitude of 7.8 earthquake in the Kamchatka Peninsula in the Russia's Far East. What is a peninsula? For example, we say India is a peninsula, right? So, here we have water on 3 sides and land on the other side, right? So, any piece of land is covered by water on 3 sides and land on the other side. We call it as peninsular. So, Kamchatka is a peninsula which lies between the Pacific Ocean and the Sea of Okhotsk. Okay, so however you pronounce it, so it is present between these 2 water bodies. Okay, so it is a peninsula which is present in the Russian Far East. So, east side of Russia. So, again this is a part of the Pacific Ring of Fire. So, where we have the maximum seismic activity taking place. So, again what is the cause for it? So, it is the interaction between the Pacific plate and North American plate. So, the Pacific plate is being subjected. Subjection means it's going down the North American plate. Let's say this is North American. So, this is moving downward. They are coming towards each other and the Pacific plate is going down, creating in this way. It's moving in this way. Okay. So, that is the reason why this earthquake has happened. So, earthquakes are very important for us in geography as well as in the current affairs also. Okay. And disaster management also, this topic is very important. So, these are the important current affairs for today. So, we'll see the important articles in the coming classes. Please like and subscribe to our academy. Thank you.